What if a cannon could hit targets nearly 50 kilometers away, fire shells weighing over 100 kilograms, and carry the power of a tactical nuke just by switching warheads? What was it made for? Too big to hide? Too heavy to move fast? Too powerful for normal artillery? Yet the Soviet Union built it. The 2S7 Pion, the largest self-propelled gun ever fielded. Not made to support troops, but to wipe out entire zones. Why build such a weapon? Why is it still in service today? And can it survive in the age of drones and precision strikes? Let's uncover the 2S7 Pion, the Cold War cannon that still haunts the battlefield.
In a war where artillery wasn't just important, it was everything. The Soviet Union built an entire strategy around long-range firepower. To them, artillery was the god of war. Infantry and tanks, they were just there to serve the guns. And from that thinking came a bold demand. Build a self-propelled gun that was huge, powerful, and could strike from far away. But that still wasn't enough. In the heat of the Cold War, Moscow wanted something more. A gun that could fire tactical nuclear shells, capable of wiping out key NATO targets deep behind enemy lines. That's how the 2S7 Pion was born. A monster of a machine, armed with a massive 203mm gun built to obliterate command posts, ammo depots, missile launchers, or anything that needed to disappear in one devastating blast. But field tests quickly revealed the dark side of tactical nukes. Radioactive clouds didn't care who you were, friend or foe, everything downwind was at risk. So even though the Pion was built to fire nuclear shells, in reality, it mostly fired conventional high-explosive rounds. That made the Pion a very unique weapon, built for nuclear war, but fighting with regular shells, carrying the structure, weight, and raw power of a doomsday machine. Development began in the early 1970s, and by 1975, the Pion officially entered service. Engineers designed a new tracked chassis using parts from the T-72 and T-80 tanks. The massive gun was mounted fixed to the rear, no turret, no rotation, but with the firepower to hit targets nearly 50 kilometers away. And when it first appeared, it sent shockwaves through NATO. They gave it a cold, clinical name, the M1975, for a weapon that was anything but gentle. The design of the 2S7 Pion is a textbook example of a weapon built around one thing, the gun. That gigantic cannon didn't just shape the firepower, it shaped the entire vehicle, its weight, its layout, and even how it moves. And from that, both its overwhelming strength and built-in limitations began to show. At the heart of the Pion lies the 2A44 cannon, a 203mm monster that weighs nearly 15 tons. That's as heavy as a full-sized city bus. Each shell it fires weighs over 100 kilograms and can reach speeds of up to 960 meters per second. The gun is fixed to the rear. No turret, no rotation, which means its firing arc is limited to just 30 degrees on each side. Want to change direction? The entire 46-ton vehicle has to turn. Slow, heavy, and not exactly subtle. The Pion can fire several types of ammunition. The most common is a high-explosive fragmentation shell weighing over 100 kilograms, enough to dig a 5-meter crater and wipe out troops across a wide area. It can also fire rocket-assisted projectiles, extending its range from 37.5 to over 47 kilometers, with some sources claiming up to 55.5. And yes, it can still fire tactical nuclear shells, though that remains a rare and terrifying option. Even though it's a mechanized system, the Pion still requires a massive crew, 14 people in total. 7 ride on the gun itself, while the other 7 follow in a support vehicle carrying the extra shells. The cannon uses a semi-automatic loading system, but because each shell is so heavy, the rate of fire is low, just around 1.5 rounds per minute, And because of the massive size of the ammunition, the Pion can only carry 4 shells on board. The rest, they come with the resupply vehicle. Under all that armor, there's a turbocharged V46i V12 diesel engine pumping out between 750 and 840 horsepower. That's enough to move this nearly 47-ton beast at a top speed of around 50 kilometers per hour with an operational range of about 650 kilometers, letting it keep pace with frontline units in combat zones. The Pion isn't fast, agile, or easy to use, but every time it fires, it strikes fear, delivering a blow from beyond the reach of most conventional artillery defenses. The 2S7 Pion first saw combat in Afghanistan in the late 1970s. As Mujahideen fighters took shelter in rugged mountains and fortified caves, the Soviets needed something that could destroy targets from extreme distances, and they turned to the Pion. It didn't need to fire fast. One accurate shot was enough to rip through an entire defensive position. That made the Pion a true nightmare, especially during siege operations on rebel strongholds. Years later, during the 2 Chechen wars, that role returned. In brutal urban combat, where every building could hide enemy fighters, the Pion was brought in to clear the way for ground troops, using its long-range firepower to level street corners and crush resistance before government forces moved in. Today, in the ongoing war with Ukraine, Russia's 2S7 Pion has returned to the front lines. But it's more than just a gun. It's a statement. Heavy artillery is not obsolete. In an era shaped by HIMARS strikes and kamikaze drones, the Pion still hits like a thunderclap from the past, carrying with it the raw, destructive force of the 20th century. Both Russia and Ukraine are using Pions to strike high-value targets: logistics hubs, ammo depots, artillery staging areas, or forward command posts. In a battlefield where satellites and drones can watch everything, a single accurate strike from dozens of kilometers away can mean more than just tactical advantage. It's a powerful psychological blow. But that power comes at a cost. Every shot fired is a gamble with the crew's lives. The blast is deafening. The setup takes time. There's no active protection. And once it fires, the Pion is nearly helpless, a sitting target for precision counter-battery fire. In a high-speed war like Ukraine, that's a deadly weakness. And yet, the Pion survives. Not because it's invincible, but because both sides understand when used at the right time, in the right place, and against the right target, a single round from a Pion can change the course of a battle. Despite boasting some of the most fearsome firepower in the world, the 2S7 Pion was not without its flaws. Its slow rate of fire, limited ammo capacity, and outdated fire control system made it vulnerable to enemy counterattacks if it couldn't withdraw quickly. That's why starting in the late 1980s, the Soviet Union began upgrading this self-propelled gun. The new variant was called the 2S7M Malka, essentially still a Pion, but completely modernized from within. First up was the loading system, improved to boost the rate of fire from just over 1 round to nearly 3 rounds per minute. In modern combat, that meant Malka could strike faster and retreat before revealing its position. Ammo capacity on board was doubled from 4 to 8 shells. That might not sound like much, but on the battlefield, those extra rounds can be the difference between survival and destruction if the resupply unit gets stuck behind. The biggest changes were mostly visible to the naked eye. Malka got new communications and fire control systems, swapping old mechanical gear for digital technology. That made targeting, coordinate adjustments, and battlefield coordination faster and more accurate. The 2S7 Pion is no ordinary artillery piece. It was born for a world on the brink of annihilation, carrying tactical nuclear warheads ready to wipe out entire enemy formations in a single barrage. Yet history pushed it into very real wars: Afghanistan, Chechnya, and now Ukraine. On the fields of Ukraine, the Pion and its Malka variant have become symbols of raw power: brutal, slow, but still incredibly deadly. It may be hunted by drones and targeted by radar-guided counterfire, but just one shell landing on target can change the entire battlefield.
The Pion is a legacy, but it's not yet history. As long as these guns roar on the battlefield, the world must remember, some weapons born in the Cold War have never truly left the fight. If you're fascinated by war machines like the 2S7 Pion, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and ring the notification bell so you never miss our next videos. There are many more giant weapons and historic stories waiting for you to explore with us.